Hi guys, welcome to our book and article review series with Fixigate Security. As you all know, this week marks the last Friday of the month of March, which we rightfully dedicated to be the book and article review series with Fixigate Security. So for this week, we have decided to bring you an interesting book, not for penetration testing or offensive security, but for general IT purposes. And of course, the information in this book is well detailed and can help you as a red team professional to carry out various cybersecurity penetration testing, as long as you understand the concept of what the author of this book is trying to explain. The book is well informative. Whatever information you get here, you have to be able to think outside the box, to be able to apply the technical skills to uncover information regarding the aspect of the information that this book conveys when performing penetration testing or bug bounty related activities. So with that being said, let's get started and unveil information about this book. So for this week, we'll be talking about a book known as Securing the API Stronghold. It's titled The Ultimate Guide to API Security. The various authors of this book is Travis, Christopher, Andres, Bill, and of course Jacob. These guys are amazing. They are very awesome because after reading this book and going through the entire concept and content of this book, I can say categorically with confidence that this book would expose you to a myriad of information and of course blow your mind with these informations and how the authors, in a very good manner, structure these informations for you to understand what the book is all about. For the book Securing the API Stronghold, we consider this book as a book that connects every information about APIs, JOTs, also known as JWT, OAuth, OpenID Connect, and so on. Trust me, the information about these various concepts in API and of course authentication mechanisms were properly explained in a very traditional manner and old-fashioned way with stories. These stories were not just told, but in such a way that they connect the various concepts that this author is trying to explain about this book. Furthermore, the book also contains a detailed information about the Neo security stack. So if you're familiar with the Neo security stack, you should know that we have FIDO. And of course, for FIDO, we know FIDO is for authentication. And we have SCIM, which is also known as SCIM or SESIM, used for provisioning. So this concept of provisioning, of course, you should be very familiar with it. And the way the author explains it is very, very detailed. I mean, from my own understanding, this author, they don't just talk about these informations. They break it down in such a way that you understand each of these new security stack concept and how they operate in the various applications. And of course, the modalities of their mechanisms on various applications they were implemented. Also, for JSON identity suite, we also know that it's used for identities, like it's rightfully stated here. Then for OpenID Connect, as part of the new security stack, it's used for federation. So federation is different from authentication, and of course it's different from authorization. Then lastly is OAuth. So for OAuth and OAuth2 were explained, and of course we know in the new security stack, the primary objective of OAuth is to delegate access. Okay, so if you remember, if you sign up for an app, you'll be given the option to either sign up using Google. So when you use Google, it's like they're delegating your authentication access to Google. It's not like Google has the authorization for you to access that app when you try to register. It's just that they're just delegating it. So whenever you try to log in, you can just click on login with Google. And of course, Google will be able to use to authenticate you in that app. Also, the author explained the dangers of using OAuth as authorization. and of course, making sure that you understand the difference between authentication, authorization, and delegation. Of the most important aspect of this explanation is that you would be exposed to the concept of making sure that you do not mistake this concept and implement it in such a way that it's going to expose your app to various vulnerabilities. Furthermore, this book explains understanding the two types of OAuth tokens. We have the access tokens, or have the refresh tokens. You read this book, trust me, you're going to understand these various types of OAuth tokens in details and what they do. The authors, they took their time to break this down in a very short and summarized manner without the need of you to read a whole lots of books before you get the idea of what the author is trying to say. Then furthermore, the agile process for managing APIs were explained. So this agile process is from the development stage down to the retirement stage, and why it's important for you to understand this concept when building your API. The author also took his time to explain how to control microservices and users' identity. So when we talk about microservices, a lot of applications are hosted on the cloud, right? These applications need to connect with each other, and without doubt, they use APIs to establish these communications. So the author explained everything and the importance of how to manage users' identity, especially when it comes to microservices. So this author, they took their time. They are very amazing. I could tell a lot of things about this book, but trust me, these authors are very, very good. They furthermore, which is of course we did not include in this slide, explain the major actors in OAuth. Okay, so they explain further the major actors in OAuth. We have the resource owner, we have the client, we have the authorization server, and of course we have the resource server. So these various actors that make up OAuth were properly explained, and how these various actors relate with one another. Okay, so this book is very important for you to have as a security researcher, but most importantly, if you're into API designing, I would advise you to have this book. Now, the three key points that makes this book unique is that, one, every terminologies are properly outlined and explained in a very, very clear and understandable manner. You don't have any reasons to start, scratching your head to think of what the author is trying to convey to you. The book terminologies were properly explained, and of course, acronyms were also giving meaning to what they represent. So this is one of the beauty about this book. The author tries to put themselves in the shoes that whoever that is reading this book has not come across this information. So in order to ensure that they do not get lost reading this book, they made opportunities or created concept where they explain these various acronyms. Now, on the second key point that makes this book very important and interesting is that it exposes you to every API's ins and outs of designing APIs and understanding the various services implementation of the new security stack. So previously we have stated about the new security stack, the ones that are used for federation and the ones that are used for authentication, and of course the ones that are used for delegations. They were properly explained without doubt and in a very good and informative manner. Okay, after reading these informations, you would understand that API is very interesting. Both as a security researcher, you start looking out for other interesting information about APIs that might not have been implemented, and of course find a way to exploit them and do the right thing, of course, by reporting to the appropriate authorities or the security team of that organization. Also in this book, we did not state is that the author took their time to explain these categories of API. We have the public API, we have the private APIs, we have the partnership APIs, and we have the custom APIs. So the author explained all this concept in this book. You understand these various APIs and how the documentations are, properly outlined for the various users of this API. Of course, for partnership, we know that has to do with B2B, which is of course big businesses, right? So you got to read about those various categories of API and understand them in depth. if you're able to understand them in depth, you can use the lapses, in these various categories of APIs to exploit or look out for informations that are related to these APIs, which might not have been secured, or properly implemented on various organizations server you're testing. Now, the last 3 key points that makes this book interesting is that it's just for less than $1. Trust me, I respect the authors of this book because they do not write this book from a place of being profitable. Okay. When you write books, the major objective is to, give the information out to users to, get familiar with, but most importantly, get back the money for the resources and energy that you put in writing this book. But these authors, they have a different approach about life. They wrote this book, and with less than $1, you can read this book on Kindle, and a total pages of 105. Well detailed and structured. I mean, shout out to you guys, Travis and Christopher and the rest of the team. You guys are very awesome. I thank you guys so much for making this book affordable, and of course ensuring that various readers or interested security professionals will be able to afford this book. So get down to Kindle, look for the book, and pay about 99 cents or less just to get this book right. If you don't know how to access Kindle, just go to Google, type this book and type Amazon. It's going to link you straight to Amazon. Then on Amazon, you're going to see the information about this book. Then from there, you can take it up from there to read about this book. So, like we rightfully said, this book is for all security researchers and API developers who aspire to be grounded with understanding APIs. So get this book, read about this book, get yourself familiarized with APIs. For security researchers, there is no proof of concept codes apart from 2 codes section that were explained in this book. One was with a Python code demonstrating about an API that does file upload and how this API code can be vulnerable in terms of maybe the files were not restricted to certain files. It was just open to a myriad of files, which of course, if you're very familiar with file upload vulnerabilities, a user can upload malicious proof of concept or shell script, and of course call those shell scripts to have a reverse shell. So this book explained that, just that code. Then the second aspect of the code explanation was on SQL injection, when there's an error. So the stack will throw the error, and of course, an experienced hacker will understand what this error is all about and further poke the infrastructure server to exploit this vulnerability. So this book is very awesome. As a security researcher, you're just going to understand API and OAuth. And of course, with those information, start looking out for this concept that we're missing in various applications that you're testing and get possible vulnerabilities to report. So on general rating, I will rate this book a 5.0. Over 5.0 is very interesting read. And one of the reasons why I did rate this book this 5.0 is that the authors are very, very kind, like way too kind to make this book a very affordable book. Okay, it's worth the rating. As a matter of fact, it's worth rating more than a 5.0, but to stick to the concept of our logic and rating concept, we'll give it a 5.0. Then for cybersecurity, Travis, you guys should not be offended. I will rate this a 4.8 over a 5. From my heart, we rate this a 5.0, but in terms of cybersecurity, we have various criteria which we rate a book over a 5.0. But for the kindness and sincerity that you guys show in this book by writing this information, you guys deserve a 4.8. The book is very awesome, guys. Get this book and read this book. With just $1, it's very interesting. I mean, for me, I was expecting maybe the book should, start from, let's say, $20 upwards. Okay. But Travis, I'm not saying this so you guys don't go and increase the price. Keep it up with a good concept so that other guys who really want to read this book would read this book. Okay. So that's all for this week. Get this book, read this book. Take your time. It's not much. I think about 105 to 106 pages with detailed information about APIs. Get it. Read it, and if there's any question you have, just drop by in our Discord, and of course drop us a message and we'll get back to you. So that's all for this week. Have fun, enjoy the weekend, and spend time with your family. See you next time, and bye for now.